All right, the truck's all rinsed off. I still have to dry it, but you guys have seen car wash videos before. Right now, we have something way more important than the exterior, and that is the undercarriage and the frame. So this truck has been in Florida its entire life, and now we've driven it in the salt. So I have to blast all of this away with the pressure washer because we're undercoating everything. Look at those backing plates. They still exist. Let's keep it that way. All right, guys, I'm done with the floors. They are looking amazing, brand new, just like right out of the factory. But when we do the undercoating, these are actually gonna turn amber because it's actually a waxy film that we're gonna be spraying under here that you guys can all do at home too. It's really neat. It's literally going to preserve my Escalade for the rest of time. Alex is a happy camper. This looks so good. This is just too nice. Too nice. Wow. All right, guys, here we go with the undercoating. This is what we're using, the AMSOIL heavy duty metal protector. So this goes on as a liquid, so it is gonna creep around and get in everywhere under the Escalade, but then it's gonna turn into a wax after about 2 hours, and this is gonna last years. So you don't have to reapply this every year or anything like that. It could last 3, 4, 5 years, depending on where you live and how you drive. So anyway, I'm gonna use 4 cans on the truck. So I think these are like 9 or 10 bucks each. So 40 bucks, undercoat your truck, prevent super expensive rust issues later on. And I'll leave a link to everything, including this little nozzle right here. So this is gonna spray out a fine mist, and you'll see we'll get the inside of the frame and the rockers with this. So some of this will drip down, so I've just put down some cardboard. I'm going to have a fan running. You want good air circulation when you're doing something like this. I will be wearing a respirator mask. And of course, I got my safety glasses and my gloves. Let's get to it. So I wanna remove the spare tire so we can undercoat this truck properly. Wouldn't have been the worst thing to do before I pressure washed, but I think I got in there really nicely nonetheless. Great time to set the tire pressure on your spare, something I like to do every couple of years because a spare tire doesn't do you much good if it's flat. All right, from there, you've done the hard stuff, all the preparation. The frame is totally dry and ready for this stuff. So I've shaken the can for about a minute, and we're gonna use the regular nozzle to start off with. And here we go. Not a very difficult application process. We're literally just spraying it on, and we're gonna get everything. This mechanism here that drops down the spare, let's protect that as well. See this shock? One day it's gonna fail me, and I'm gonna need to remove it. So I'm gonna go ahead and coat the nuts and bolts so they come out nice and easy. Here as well, we want to get all the hardware. This is a good one to coat. The brake line's right above the differential. These lines always rot out, stuff collects on them. Around here, the backing plates start to fall apart and they start making noises and everything. This is rock solid. And what's nice is if we come up here and spray, this stuff will creep down. So even if you can't exactly see where you're spraying, know that this stuff is liquid going on, so it's gonna get everywhere. And it is gonna drip down on the ground, so you wanna protect it, but it's not a big deal. This washes up. If you use some brake cleaner or even some heavy degreaser, you can get it off your floor. It's not a big deal. All right, let me show you guys how to use this little doohickey. So what you want to do is coat the inside of the frame because water and salt can get in here as well. And check this out. This has 3 nozzles on it, so it's gonna kind of mist and spray and atomize the wax fluid inside of the frame. And you kind of see it coming out of those holes on the bottom too. So anywhere there's a hole in the frame, you're just gonna go ahead and spray this on the inside. It's kind of coming out there, so this stuff gets everywhere. All right, I'd say this frame is nice and coated on the inside. Let's go ahead and coat it on the outside now. And it's okay if you're putting this right over your factory coating. On some trucks, this stuff will wear off, and then you're kind of starting from scratch, so that's where it really helps out. Try not to spray this directly on the exhaust. It's okay if some gets on there, it's just gonna burn off, but I'm going to do the floors as well and these shields, even though those aren't necessarily gonna rust out, but they're gonna get sprayed in the process. So after the prep, this process really doesn't take that long. I'll have this entire truck coated in about an hour. And on the last Escalade, I didn't have to pressure wash the bottom because it was summertime and it was already clean. It was from Florida as well. So I just lifted it up in the air and started spraying. You only need to do what I did if your truck has been in the salt, even just for a few days. Your next alignment tech is going to thank you that they can actually break free free your tie rods to adjust them. All right, guys, that's pretty much the process for the frame and the floors. And I want to show you how I coat the inside of the rockers after we roll the truck off the lift. So for now, let's turn on some copyright-free music that you've probably never heard before. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this time lapse. All right, so I just got done undercoating everything under here. So I'll show you the final results in a minute after it's dried so you can kind of see what it's like long-term as a wax. But before that, let's pull some body plugs. All right, guys, so we're just popping out these body plugs right here for the rocker panels. Just use a plastic wedge so you don't scratch anything. So now I have all of the plugs out so you can see all of the holes in the rocker panel. So at this point, we're gonna be using this misting nozzle, and you're just gonna stick it in each hole, and we're just gonna run it up and down the rocker. So then you just keep on moving down to the next one. Make sure you get it all in there. All right, and each rocker should take you probably about 5 minutes, that's all. You can see it kind of misting out of the other hole. We're really filling the cavity in there, so it's gonna be completely coated from the inside. But since this is a painted and clear coated surface, we're not gonna worry about spraying any on the outside because that is well protected. It's the next morning and I've let the coating dry overnight with that fan on it. And here is our final result. So as you can tell, this is a very durable coating that doesn't just run off. A lot of the coatings on the market are basically an oil that you have to put on roughly every year. Not saying they don't work, but you have to redo it every year. And when I had the old Escalade, I had this on there for about 15 months. It went through one Chicago winter and it looked identical. I'll show you guys this after this winter. I'll update you. I'll probably post up some pictures on Instagram and Facebook at Legit Street Cars, and then I'll make a video at some point as well to show you what's going on. But anyway, everything is coated. I went into all the cracks and crevices, and that's what's nice about this. It goes on as a liquid and it kind of mists in there and gets everywhere. So I even coated the hose clamps right here. These can rust out and just kind of break apart. And we don't want that to happen, and all of the hardware is coated as well, so this isn't going to turn into a glob of rust. The backing plates are coated, the differentials coated, the springs, everything. I just kind of misted that stuff pretty much everywhere you see here. I'm sure one of you will say you missed a spot, and you probably will. You'll probably go back the next day with a flashlight and touch up a few areas, but that's okay. I think I've gotten pretty much everything here that's important. We have all of the floors. We have even these little guys that will rust off, and then you'll get a rattle from these shields banging on your exhaust. That is not going to happen any longer to this Midwest truck. It's hard to see on the black coated surfaces, but these are coated as well. Obviously not as important as everything else, as they do have a factory undercoating, but some of the factory stuff does wear off, as you can see in areas like this. So now this has a nice waxy film. It's going to prevent any more rust from forming there. And I've done all the steering and suspension. Obviously this is aluminum. It's not going to rust. This was more or less overspray from hitting up all the hardware here. But one day when these inevitably fail, which they will, they did on my other one at 73,000 miles and they're $1,000 each, I'll be able to remove them. So at least it'll be an easy install to make me feel better about how expensive parts are for newer cars. But yeah, everything is done here. Kind of a fun process. The body bolts are coated, all the lines, everything in here. Obviously, again, this isn't gonna rust, but it's more or less the hardware that we're hitting here, the floor. These little pinch welds, if the paint chips on them, they will start to rust. So we've coated all inside of here also. So yeah, basically this was a big undercoating fest. It's a lot of fun doing this. It's very satisfying and it's very relieving knowing that I'm protected from the nasty Chicago salt.